And joining us here with more insight into this case and into the comparisons with the case you saw in that report, the Victor Bout case, is RT contributor Wayne Madsen. Now, Wayne, in Jehan Hafez's story, she brought up the case of Victor Bout, comparing it to this case of Euroshenko. Do you see the comparison there, and how do you think the two cases compare?
Well, the major comparison between the two is when Victor Bout was arrested in Thailand by the Drug Enforcement Administration, the same agency that nailed Euroshenko in Monrovia, Liberia. He was tied to an attempt to sell weapons to the FARC of Colombia. In this case, I read the indictment against Euroshenko and his colleagues, many of whom are West Africans, and they're trying, obviously, to link him to drug cartels run by the FARC again in Colombia, and also the government of Venezuela, and coming around the time where Colombia has accused Venezuela of harboring the FARC, which led to the rupture in diplomatic relations between Venezuela and Colombia, and the reference in the indictment to an attempt by FARC to overthrow the democratically elected government of Colombia. It's starting to look very political. That kind of political jargon has no real place being in a criminal indictment. It looks like somebody's doing some political grandstanding.
Well, I want to get back to that criminal indictment, because you did read it, of course, but I want to go back to the Victor Bout case. The U.S. went through all of the legal steps, all the legal procedures in that case, and they failed to get him. So do you think that after that, the U.S. deliberately skirted these legal proceedings in Euroshenko's case?
Well, in the case of Victor Bout, of course, the court refused his extradition. Now the Thai government is appealing that to a higher Thai court, so he's still in prison in Bangkok. I think that this tendency by the United States to kidnap people, whether they're in, third countries or wherever they happen to be, is just indicative of this new approach to United States unilateralism. If they can't use Interpol, they can't use picking up the phone to Russia and trying to talk about this, just going out and kidnapping people. I think this is part of the carryover from the Bush-Cheney administration, where the U.S. basically thumbs its nose at international law, and we've seen it time and time again.
Well, and in Jehan Hafez's report, she asked the question, does Euroshenko's case mean the U.S. rule book isn't valid? And it sounds like you're saying that you don't believe it is. You believe that this is a new status quo. Is that right?
I believe it is. And, I mean, we do know that drugs coming through West Africa from Latin America is a big problem. But where is the interest in looking at the government of Colombia, outgoing President Uribe and incoming President Santos, both tied to these same right-wing elements that have been known to be involved in major narcotic smuggling and killing workers and peasants in that country? Everything seems to be trying to build up a case for war against Hugo Chavez and continued U.S. intervention in Colombia.
Well, why do you think that is? Is it because of the aid the U.S. gives to Colombia? Is it because the U.S. needs Colombia in Latin America, in South America? Absolutely.
We only have a very few base of operations left in Latin America. Colombia is one, Panama is another, and Chile is a new one with that new president who was an admirer and supporter of the dictator Pinochet. So the U.S. is somewhat limited in where it can exercise its influence and control, and certainly Colombia has become a major base, with 7 new military bases going in there as a result of a decision by the Obama administration.
Real quickly, Wayne, this story has so many interesting details, not the least of which is that the State Department is saying that they pushed the wrong button on the fax machine, that they tried to inform Russia, but they accidentally sent the fax to Romania. Really? Do you buy that?
I don't buy it at all, because it seems like the reset button it doesn't work at the State Department fax machines, but the idea that there's a bank of buttons that they push, I guess if they pushed the next one, it would have gone to Rwanda, which is next on the alphabetical list. So that sounds like a very strange story. I don't think anyone would buy that.
Seems like they could have come up with a better one.
Well, diplomacy by fax machine, I mean, it sounds so 1980s anyway. Why didn't they contact the Russian embassy or the Russian government itself? Why wasn't it Justice Department to the Ministry of Justice in Moscow, direct talks between them?
So many more questions yet unanswered. Wayne Madsen with all of that insight into what we do now.